I was raised in the quiet foothills of Oregon, where skepticism grew wild and free, like the blackberry bushes that clawed at the back fence of my childhood home. My name is Elena Cross, and up until the day I died, I was a surgeon, a woman of science, logic, and precision. I fixed the human body with my hands. I believed only in what I could see under a microscope or measure in milliliters. That was before the accident. It all started with a pain in my abdomen. Subtle at first, a tightness, a whisper that something wasn't quite right. I ignored it. Surgeons are notorious for denying their own symptoms. We fix others. We rarely check in with ourselves. But this pain didn't let go. It grew teeth. By the third week, it was dragging me to my knees in the middle of the OR. I had to step away from a laparoscopic gallbladder removal and let someone else close. My pride took a hit, but I couldn't fake it anymore. Scans showed something suspicious, a mass near my left ovary. The biopsies were inconclusive. There was talk of exploratory surgery. Talk I tried to drown out. But by month 2, the pain was unbearable. I agreed to a laparoscopic oophorectomy, a routine removal of the ovary. It was supposed to be in and out. But nothing about this story is routine. The surgery went smoothly, or so they said. I remember the bright lights of the OR, the chill of the anesthesia as it hit my bloodstream, and then, nothing. Blackness. I came to in recovery, woozy and dry-mouthed, but alive. That night, though, everything changed. Around 2 a.m., a pain like no other ripped through my torso. It was as if someone had set my insides on fire, stirred them with a jagged blade, and poured acid on top for good measure. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. The nurse call button was inches away, but might as well have been across the ocean. By the time they found me, I was in hemorrhagic shock. Blood was pooling internally, fast and furious. My vitals were crashing. The monitors screamed. Voices shouted over me. Masks hovered. Someone barked, "Prep for surgery, now." And that's when it happened. Not with a bang. Not with a jolt. Just a quiet pop, like a soap bubble snapping. And suddenly, I was gone. I didn't feel the pain anymore. Not even a whisper of it. Instead, I was standing, or maybe floating, above the chaos. The room looked oddly peaceful from this vantage point, like a painting of an emergency rather than the real thing. I saw my body on the gurney, limp and colorless, tubes snaking from my arms, blood staining the sheets beneath me. But I wasn't afraid. In fact, I felt incredible, light, limitless, like I had stepped out of a broken cage and remembered what it meant to be whole. Then I noticed someone else in the room, a man standing near the far corner, arms folded, watching me. He was young, maybe mid-30s, with sharp features and an amused glint in his eye. I knew him instantly. Asher. He had died 10 years ago. A car accident on a snowy stretch of highway had taken him too soon. He was my college roommate, my best friend, my unrequited love. "You took your sweet time," he said, smirking. I laughed, or whatever passes for laughter when you don't have lungs. I didn't know this was the way. He didn't answer, just held out his hand. "It's not what you think. Come on." Asher's hand was warm, not physically, but in that soul-deep way you feel when someone looks at you and really sees you. The moment I took it, the hospital room faded like smoke in the wind. We were somewhere else. It wasn't a tunnel, like I'd heard in other people's stories. It was a passage, yes, but more like a fold in space, a corridor of shimmering mist that felt alive. The walls pulsed with light, humming with energy. I heard music, not through my ears, but in my bones, orchestras made of colors, harmonies stitched from memories. I asked Asher, "Is this heaven?" He smiled softly. "That's a human word. It's a place. A beginning, not an ending." We moved without walking. It felt like flying, or swimming through something lighter than air. And ahead of us, the mist parted to reveal a landscape so breathtaking, I forgot to think. Imagine every sunset you've ever seen, distilled into a single sky. Imagine trees that glowed with sentience, lakes that whispered your name, flowers that turned as you passed like old friends greeting you after years apart. I was home, and yet I'd never been here before. We entered a vast open field, but it wasn't empty. A soft wind blew through tall golden grass, and nestled in the heart of it was a garden unlike anything on earth. The colors were wrong, or maybe just more. The roses shimmered with layers of blue that don't exist in any human spectrum. Lilies bent their petals toward the sun not in obedience, but in joy. Asher let go of my hand. "You have a guide now." A woman stepped forward from among the flowers. She was tall, with silver hair braided down her back and eyes that held galaxies. I didn't know her, but I loved her instantly. "My name is Sarai," she said, "and I'm here to show you the truth." We walked. The garden changed as we moved, sometimes lush, sometimes wild, once becoming a snowy grove with no footsteps behind us. As we reached the center, a circle of white stones rose from the earth. Sarai gestured, and the air rippled. A screen, not like a TV, but woven from light itself, appeared before us. "Watch," she said. And I did. I saw me. Not just the highlight reel. This wasn't a Facebook montage of birthdays and beach trips. This was everything. Every word I'd whispered in the dark, every cruel thought I'd buried beneath logic, every kindness I forgot I'd done. I felt it all. But the strangest part? There was no judgment. When I snapped at a nurse during my residency, I felt a sting like it was my own. When I held my mother's hand during her last breath, I felt her peace too. Every action was a ripple, and I was now the water, feeling it flow outward in waves that touched strangers I'd never even met. I saw the child I delivered during a snowy power outage, how he would grow into a poet. I saw the woman whose surgery I botched in my first year, and how her life had been altered forever, not ruined, but redirected. Tears streamed down my face, though I had no eyes. Sarai put a hand on my shoulder. "This is not punishment. It is understanding. You are learning how to carry your light better." I whispered, "Why did I forget all of this?" "You agreed to. Before you were born." After the review, Sarai led me to the edge of a cliff that overlooked an ocean made of stars. The water sparkled with sentient light, as if every droplet held a soul. "This is the boundary," she said. "You can cross and stay, or you can return." I turned to her. Return. But my body's broken. I was dying. Not anymore. Not exactly. She held out her hands. In her palms bloomed two images, one of me, glowing, joyful, merged with the universe, the other of me, back in a hospital bed, pale and gasping but alive. "You can stay," she said gently, "or you can go back and finish what you started." I hesitated. The thought of returning to pain, to doubt, to the sharp edges of human life, it terrified me. But then, a flicker. Two faces. My children. Not born yet. Not even conceived. But I saw them. A boy with my eyes and wild curls. A girl with a laugh that could melt concrete. "You still have something to do," Sarai said. And I knew. I want to go back. Saying goodbye to Sarai was like pulling sunlight out of my chest. She didn't cry. She just smiled with that knowing ancient kind of love and said, "We'll meet again, Elena. But not for a long time." And then it happened. I was falling. Not downward, but inward. Collapsing back into density. The light dimmed. The colors faded. The peace fractured. I slammed into my body like a thunderclap. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't smooth. It felt like being buried alive inside my own skin. The pain rushed in, sharp and absolute. My lungs seized. My stomach convulsed. I tasted blood and bile and the unmistakable sting of consciousness. The machines around me beeped violently. Nurses were shouting. Someone yelled, "She's back! She's back!" And then, blackness. Not the eternal kind. Just exhaustion. But I was back. When I woke again, everything had changed. My body ached, but I was alive. More alive than I'd ever been. The nurse stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. My attending surgeon, Dr. Morgan, came in an hour later with his jaw practically on the floor. "We have no explanation," he said, flipping through my chart like it might suddenly offer answers. "You lost over 2 liters of blood internally. Then, after something happened, your body expelled it all. Every clot, every pocket, on its own." I just nodded. I didn't tell him about Asher, or Sarai, or the garden that glowed with impossible color. Not yet. But what really stunned him, what stunned everyone, was what came next. 3 days after waking up, I walked to the bathroom without help. My vitals? Perfect. Internal scans? Clear. The mass? Gone. "You healed like someone rewound the damage," Dr. Morgan muttered. "I don't even know what to say." I did. "Thank you," I whispered to the ceiling. Recovery was fast, unnaturally so. Within a week, I was home. But I wasn't the same Elena who walked into that door. My phone buzzed with patient messages, hospital updates, surgery schedules. I stared at it like it belonged to someone else. I used to be obsessed with control, precision, status. But now, I saw a different kind of blueprint, one etched in energy and connection, in purpose that pulsed under the skin of reality. I quit my job. Not because I didn't love medicine, but because I needed to heal in a different way. I wanted to sit with the dying, to hold their hands, to listen, to be the presence I never let myself become before. I began volunteering at a hospice center in Portland. No one there knew my story, but the patients saw something in me. They called me the calm one. One man, weeks from passing, looked into my eyes and whispered, "You've seen the other side, haven't you?" I only smiled. Months passed. I began to speak publicly, quietly at first, in small groups at libraries, churches, and coffee houses. I didn't preach. I just told the truth. About the mist, the garden, the music that sang in color. About Asher, and the promise that death is not the end. People wept, hugged me, told me they felt less afraid. And in those moments, I saw what Sarai had meant when she said I had a mission. One woman, a cancer survivor named Rachel, wrote to me later, "After your story, I stopped fearing what's next. I started living again." Thank you. That letter is still in my nightstand. Years have passed now. I have 2 children, Aiden and Mara, just like I saw. They laugh constantly. My daughter tells me sometimes that she dreams in colors that don't exist yet. My son once said, at age 4, "Mommy, did you know there's a man named Asher who helped bring you home?" I cried for an hour after that. I don't pretend to understand everything. The experience didn't give me all the answers, but it gave me what matters. That love is the thread that connects us across space, time, and even death. That death is a doorway, not an ending. That we are more than bones and breath. And now, every morning I wake up, I feel it, a hum in my chest, a glow behind the eyes. A reminder. I've been to the other side. And I chose to come back. I know there are people who don't believe this story. They'll say I hallucinated. That my brain, starved of oxygen, stitched together fragments of memory and imagination in a desperate bid to survive. That it was the drugs, or the trauma, or a trick of biology. I get it. I really do. I was once one of them. I used to think the soul was a poetic metaphor, useful for art, but meaningless in the operating room. I believed consciousness ended when brain activity flatlined. I believed what textbooks told me. But then I left my body. I saw a friend long gone. I walked through a garden not of this earth, and I looked into the eyes of something so vast, so loving, that I can't describe it without tears. You don't have to believe me. This isn't a sermon. It's not a lecture. I'm not trying to sell you something. But here's what I can tell you, with the quiet certainty of someone who stood on both sides of the veil. We are more than flesh. We are loved beyond measure. And death is not the end. You don't have to believe me for it to be true. But if you've ever felt a strange peace at a loved one's passing, if you've ever heard your name in a dream, spoken by someone long gone, if you've ever had the sense that something bigger is at work, then maybe, just maybe, you already know. The soul remembers what the mind forgets. And one day, we all return to the light.